What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO, go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, as far as data, only thing coming out from China is manufacturing. And so previous was 50.1, no forecast right now. So that's coming out on the 29th. And then out of the States, it's going to be relatively quiet during the beginning part of the week, and then you do have the FOMC minutes, and that is coming out on Tuesday, and then GDP and PCE on Wednesday. And then for the most part, you have right over here on the Thursday is a holiday in lieu of Thanksgiving, so market's closed, and then Friday's closed early at 1 o'clock. So NIO's trading on Friday will be very, very interesting to see the amount of volume it does get. And for those of you that think that algorithmic trading isn't a big deal, just watch for Friday's volume because typically, from my experience at least, Friday the 29th, the day after Thanksgiving, like nobody's working, very, very low volume, and even nobody turned on the algorithmic trading. So it'll be interesting to see the overall volume. But one thing that could be coming out this week, possibly, a lot of people seem to be very hyped up about it, and that is some agreement between the European Union and China in regards to imports. So this has been one thing that's been really affecting NIO quite a lot over the last little bit, and just the lack of, I guess, stimulus updates, but that seems to be kind of secondary thought right now. But as it stands, it's currently sitting at 45.3. What I don't really understand is the deadline was on October the 31st. So they kind of came to a tentative disagreement. So the 45.3 on October the 30th. Then China retaliated. I think it was with whiskey, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. But I don't know how they can still negotiate after the deadline, but still, in my opinion, this could really help and be a good catalyst for NIO for this upcoming week. And for those of you that think that it's not that big of a deal, this was just posted. So NIO reaches 100,000 battery swaps in Europe. That's since 2022. And so I think that are in roughly, 25 different markets. And so they are growing, especially with their new one starting out in Belgium, I believe. So that should be coming out next week. But honestly, I think if you think bigger picture, I know the whole tariffs aren't that big of a deal for right now in present time, but in the future, it could really kind of hinder growth. So I think, like I said, this will be a big thing if it does come out, and if they kind of quash it or if they just reduce it down to 10%, I think that will be very positive to NIO. And more so on a technical stance, NIO's looking primed and ready for a nice breakout. So as I stated in my last video, it was able to successfully close above that ALMA. So I have the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, ALMA, super trend, and stochastic RSI. So stochastic RSI is looking rather bullish. So you have a nice bullish sentiment right now. So the blue line above the orange, above the ALMA, like I said, it is about to test that both 200 and 100-day moving average, most likely early next week. So that's going to be set at 492 and then 497. So kind of just stay tuned for that. And then if you're very optimistic and want to know, right here, the 50-day moving average is currently sitting at $5.49. So if NIO does get some good catalysts, then you could see a nice push higher. I don't know if we're going to see these levels this week whatsoever, unless something crazy does happen, but at least baby steps. Just watch for at least it to get into the fives for this upcoming week. So technicals are looking rather optimistic. Shorts surprisingly did return on Friday, 1.7 million shares. So anticipate them to be somewhat as well active. And same goes for holidays. It'll be interesting to see the volume on Friday, with, of course, the market only, I think, is closing at 1 o'clock. And so a lot of other stocks that I like to look at that's similarly very heavily shorted as to NIO, I always like to look at American holidays and just to see what happens volume wise. So if it kind of is more telling on where the entities are that are shorting stocks. So for instance, Friday, if we see abnormally high volume or kind of just the status quo, then it is fair to assume that it's not based in the States, that it's more of a foreign entity that is shorting NIO. So kind of just stay tuned for a lot of my updates. I'll go over all that when the time comes, but going into this upcoming week, 14.7% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 196.39 million shares overall are being shorted. So I anticipate shorts to be kind of maintaining their level, most likely around that 14% range up until a catalyst, either whether it be tariff related, stimulus related, or possibly once NIO does unveil their, I guess, November numbers in roughly a week. That could be as well a good catalyst dependent on the actual results. But going into this upcoming week though, there's been lower and lower volume in options. So on Friday, there was 5.43 million, 4.16 million in puts. 49% of all the options being done were optimistic and bullish. So as far as some expectations, you can kind of see that there is some optimism for it to be above that 550 for this upcoming week. So kind of matching with the technicals that some individuals are assuming higher highs are coming. And then you have roughly $6 anticipated for December 20th. So that's what the bulls are saying. Bears are saying for this upcoming week, sub 450. So in my opinion, a little bit more upside, clearly based on all that. And then this one did stand out. So there is some large entities assuming it is going to be sub $4 by December 20th. So for that month, kind of polar opposites, but as it stands right now with it at 484, it is trading between these 2 points, so this S1 and this S2. So 432 is going to be a strong support. I don't anticipate that to be touched, at least unless something very, very negative does come out, more so across the board, whether it be GDP, PCE, or something along those lines. And then $4.89 is going to be that next strong target for NIO. So just watch for it to get above that early on. And then aside from that, these 2 points, so that 492 and then 497. So that's going to be that 100 and also 200-day moving average. So kind of just stay tuned and watch those points as strong pivots. So if it is able to get above all of that, then yes, the options is correct. It will probably be at that 550 in my opinion, right below that 50-day moving average. So cautiously optimistic about this week. I think NIO's been on a kind of a vicious downtrend over the last little bit and significantly lagging the market. So I feel on Friday that was more just big money kind of paying attention to it more than just probably because they overlooked it for a while. So let me know your thoughts. Throw your price prediction for NIO for this upcoming week in the comments below. Do you think it's going to get back to the 550, or do you think it's going to retrace to, let's say, the low fours, or what's your viewpoint? And plus, give yourself a shout out if you've been buying. Hopefully everyone's having an amazing weekend thus far. One final thing I do want to share with you though, I did launch a Patreon where I'm giving buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. And I have been hitting home runs. So definitely pop over there to take a look at that. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.